Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 7 of Let's Play Cities Skylines. And if you remember, on the last episode, we built this awesome rail line, which we can see here, indicated in light blue. We finished the last episode by watching a train go south. But I figure, why not begin the next episode by watching a train go north? Yes, before we build anything, we're going to watch a train go north. And instead of riding on top of the train, I think we are strapped to the front of it. So, yes, that is a very thrilling and scary place to be. Pulling up into our hub. Gotta love the hub. And once again, a surprising number of people are using this station. I mean, do you see all the people walking in front of us? There's also a fire. I hope the fire station is able to put that out. Because the last thing I need is a bunch of buildings burning down. But I think they got it. We've been pretty smart about our expansion so far. Alright. So now up and over and into the elevated portion of our train ride. And there we go into our little hub. And that, like I've stated before, I do expect this to be right in or near the big urban area, so having those monorail lines could end up being very important. So, I mean, no one's getting on or off yet. But now we go forward through this cut we made with our parallel line over here, and we are going to ride north. Well, technically east. We're bending east, and then we're going to bend back north once we cross this river. Yes, the one thing that does kind of make me sad is that this game lacks SimCity 4's variety in bridges. I thought that really made the game come alive when you could have that many different kinds of bridges and things like that. But, you know, for all the great things that this game gives us, I'm not going to be complaining all that much about small details like this. Okay, and now we get to drive through our big cut. And I've got to say, this looks rather cool. And now we are once again at ground level. Going up and around. And to this station. And once again, I am amazed that people are here. But they are. There's less people on this train because this train, I believe, is bunched behind one of the other ones. And I think that gives it a little bit of a, less people get on. But it's actually useful later on because when trains fill up, the ones following it, like this one, will be the ones to pick up all the people who couldn't get on the ones that were already there. Alright, yep, lower the gates because here we go. And if my calculations are correct, we have just one more station to go. Whoa. I didn't want to go into that mode. What are you doing to me? Okay. But through the cut, under the road, and there we go to the station that has no power. Whoops. Well, you know what? We can do this the easy way. Instead of building a power line, we'll just authorize a mini expansion of the city out to here, and that little area should pop in no time. Yes, indeed. Oops, I wanted this to be commercial. Water, yes, go. Alright, but like I said, we need industry. And we can look here and easily see what kind of industry that we do need. Like how there's like a buffer. There's like a no industry buffer. Or maybe that's a 2-industry area, but I think that in this area we can begin to get ourselves some this was oil production, right? Yeah. Give ourselves an oil district. So we're going to make a long straight road. We're going to say this is like a line of longitude or something. Or we could if it wasn't so what's the word? Not straight. Well, I can't think of the word. It's not straight. Or it is straight, but it's not lined up completely with this. So I think you might understand what I'm trying to search for here. But we are going to plop down a little bit here, and I think a little bit down here too. Spread it out just a hair. The thing is, these streets can go at pretty good slopes like that, but for the sake of realism, I try to avoid that in most cases. I mean, here and there it looks good, and there are some towns that you'll see IRL that do have like surprisingly really steep streets. It's kind of interesting. There are some places like San Francisco where they stubbornly kept with their grid regardless of how steep the ground was or the terrain, and so you get situations where you have massively sloped roads on hills. But I mean, I think nothing beats like the Mediterranean Europe areas, because places where they'd never think to build in America, they're going nuts and building you know, these very steep communities, you know, northern Italy, Sweden, you know, southeastern France, Austria, just for some names. I mean, look at this Birdsong Hills. You gotta wonder, like, who comes up with these things? I mean, that's like too cute, in my opinion. Like Birdsong Hills, and they're all like that too. You know, all the default names. It's not annoying. I'm not annoyed by it. I just think it's a little bit mildly exasperating. Okay. So this will start us off with oil. And keep in mind, any industrial area brings with it heavy truck use. So we might be having to accommodate that in the very near future. Oh, and water. Can't forget water. This isn't SimCity 4. They won't just be low wealth. They won't exist. That's how it works. They will build, but then they'll be abandoned like immediately after, making you wonder why they built in the first place. But I think it's worthwhile to add some. We're going to be, let's just preemptively upgrade this bad boy here, because it's going to be handling a lot more traffic than it's used to. Oh, people are using this road to come in here. A lot of railroad crossings here. But what we are going to do is let us add, yep, just straight road all the way up there. And over here, whoops, oh well. Yeah, this doesn't line up completely, but are we really that bothered by it? I would venture that we indeed are not. By no means do I require things to be perfectly lined up, although we did a pretty atrocious job over here, but that's okay. Alright, speaking of upgrading, let's just preemptively do that. We'll just upgrade a whole bunch of things while we're at it. because we can. We'll even upgrade this road, at least as far as here. Yep, and you can see we have trains like this that just deposited people into our hub, which will go in various different directions eventually. And now, once again, oh yeah, let's add a prison. There we go. It's a happy prison for us. Not so happy for the prisoners. But if they didn't want to be unhappy, they shouldn't have committed the crime, right? Yeah. Alright. So, now we're going to add this. Oh. Ore industry. We have to get some ore going on. And also, businesses in your city will actually need various raw resources. And if you don't have them in your city, they will be forced to export them out from outside your city. So we're better off having them here. Alright. Well, what we are going to do now is we are going to do this, and we are going to add farm zones. Now, in this game, kind of disappointingly, farming works more like any other industry than it does what you would traditionally consider farmland. So we have to zone it as such. It is one of the things that does annoy me, as is the having to put all of these things over and over again. We're going to be in the hole for a long time, but I believe that we will eventually be positive in our income. Alright, they're getting just about sick of more industry. So that's a good sign that it's about time for us to move on back to actually building some more towns and expanding towns that we have. Woodland Hills. Exactly the wrong name for a farm district. But there we go. We're also going to have to make a forestry district, but we're going to wait on that, I think. And now for water. Yes, and you can see where a city rapidly starts coming together. I mean, we have 10,000 people, but we already have a fair bit of traffic on some of our major roads. Not that this is a lot by any means, but you know, it's moving, it's going. It's something to see. We can look at our line and we can see we already have tourists as well as other people going on. But yeah, it is going to be a lot of fun. So let's see. Oh no, it needs a trash truck. Interestingly enough, this grew very fast, and now people are indeed walking very far. How far are they walking? Can we find them walking as far as the edge here? Yes, we can. See? We see people walking all the way down here. So just like I told you, people are willing to walk a good distance to use the train stations in this town. But as you might expect, other rail towns will be sprouting up next to stations, because people are like, ooh, now there's cheap land, I can live here, I can commute to work in wherever. What's there not to love? So this is where we have a crazy little thing going on over here. Let's have this expand a little bit more. And I want to keep these small for now, because right now they're just little rail towns with little services and all those kinds of things. Alright. Well, there's going to be a small bit of commercial near the train station. And near the tracks. But then as we depart from there, it's going to be mostly residential. Mostly rail commuters will be living in a place such as this. So there we go. There is Railtown number 1. We also need Railtown number 2. Now, I don't know if and when these will be expanded. So, what I'm actually going to do here, let's take a look here. Can I upgrade this? I can upgrade this part of it. So let's just upgrade this here for now, and we'll worry about the rest later. But we're going to pave a main street here. And once again, my mouse is kind of being a poop. Or not my mouse, my keyboard. It's being a little crap. So hopefully that doesn't give me as many problems as it was during the episode that was ruined. And that wasn't the only reason it was ruined, but it was a reason, or it was a contributing factor, you could say. Yes, for those of you who don't know, I had to scrap an episode mainly because the video editing, or the OBS decided to go completely full useless mode and not record my stuff or record it poorly. So that's what happened. Alright, once again, let's add those services so we can rack up our expenses. Always wonderful. And now let's make this entire bit here commercial all the way down. It's always a little bit risky making too much commercial at once, because commercial tends to be to develop itself very fast, and when it does that, you suddenly have people not able to fill the jobs aren't able to be filled, and because they can't be filled, they go ahead and become abandoned just as fast as they built. So it's a little bit annoying, and sometimes they will come back on their own gradually, and other times they stay abandoned. All depends on the demand of your particular area. But there we go. And here is a special case, because we are going to be having some form of city over there. And by the way, we are experiencing the construction of these areas, although we do have to point out that we are having worker shortages. So, you know what we can do? I think we could make another rail line. Let me think about this. People don't use the rail lines that much to get to industrial jobs. We might just let them use the roads, but then again, you see places like this, and they do want to grow. They do have the desire to grow, because we do have jobs available. So when there's jobs available, people are going to want to move where the jobs are. So that's why we get things like this, which is a new section of this town. Okay. A very irregular section, but should be alright for us. We'll limit our rail crossings, and we'll come back to them if anything goes wrong and if they need to be upgraded. But let's simply do this. And then we are going to add that, being careful not to let it bleed into neighboring areas. Then we are going to fill it in. Oh man, one thing that I'm going to do pretty soon is I think it's about time to very carefully begin the process of highway making, because if you recall, the first highway I made in the original Trinity was actually the turnpike. And I am thinking that in a similar manner, we can make a turnpike. Of course, toll booths aren't a thing in this game, but we can actually mock up some toll booths. They won't function, obviously, but they will sort of remind people of toll booths. And yes, I did upgrade this, so we have better passage into the city. So yeah, we have some growth over here. We have a lot of issues with people getting jobs here. So I think before we go, we need one little hilltop town up here to complete our town building of the day. So let's simply just put something down like this. And let's have it even cross the road and come up here. And we are going to put down only a little commercial, because commercial will be taking some of the demand of the residents, and we want these workers to work down there. So we're going to add police, fire, medical clinic, high school, elementary school. We didn't do this for any of the other new towns, but we're going to add a park here too. So water. And yes, I think the turnpike will connect down to here. So there we go. There is our little town that we have to hook up with our power. And hopefully people will start to work here. But now, before we go, I want to conclude our episode by making a little drive. Now, this is, I don't honestly remember if this is a mod or a came with the game, because it's been so long and I have, like, I don't remember a lot. My memory kind of sucks. But what you can do is you can set a starting location and a finishing location, and it will take you there automatically. But there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I set 2 spots near each other, or completely across the map from each other, in fact, and we are going to watch as this car makes the route. As you can see, there's a little line showing where we're going to go. It can be turned off, but this is another way to see your city firsthand from ground level, and I love it. I think it's wonderful. And yep, we are going to be crossing a few rails here. The Harrison Ford line that we've made. And we will be making more rail lines very soon. I think once we get to 20 or maybe 25,000 people, that's when we will actually start building up one of the urban centers. Oh, this is fun. We have to cross the outer line, and then we have to cross the Harrison Ford line again. So that's pretty funny. But I presume we're making a left here. Yep, and this is our main road, our main north-south road on the west side of the river. And if you look, our big hub is on the left, and we are heading into Old Junction. So you can see a lot of stuff going on, and I do like the gradual slopes that we have in this town. I think I did a good job with this map. I have to pat myself on the back. Oh look, we're crossing we're crossing the Harrison Ford line again. Can you imagine that? Yes, I don't think it takes into account railroad crossings when calculating the shortest route. But here is our main junction in Old Junction, and here we are crossing not the Harrison Ford line, but the main external line, intercity line, or whatever it's called. Yes, and never shall the two meet. Now we are out in the open country once again. So, pretty good. There will at some point, of course, have to be a larger road to parallel this in some way, because we only have 10,000 people, but already we start to see that road traffic has increased to a certain level here. So now we are going to be going along the side of the river. We still have a ways to go, because if you look forward where this abandoned thing is flashing, I think that's where we're going. But it's a good ways off yet. And I could speed up the time, but how would we enjoy the ride, right? Now we are just going to watch this at its normal rate and enjoy ourselves. As you can see, we've just ended a completely straight portion of road, and now we're getting into this gradual slope that gradually climbs the hill. And I always say, if it looks cool now, because it does look cool now, but if it looks cool now, imagine how much cooler it's going to look when there are buildings, other roads, rails, and all that good stuff on either side and all around. Oh yes, it's going to be sweet. And there's a lot of sloped areas here, so either this immediate area isn't going to be too highly developed, or we're going to have to get creative when we do develop it. Oh yes, it's going to be a lot of fun. And as you can see, as we've been driving, our population has slowly eked its way up. Once again, crossing the inner city line. It might be the other inner city line, because remember, we do have two. So it's worth noting. Alright. We are entering into another straight and pretty flat stretch of road as we enter into another one of our towns here. Yeah, it looks nice. I do like the aesthetic of this game. The only slight complaint I might have is that, unlike SimCity 4, where you had 4 or 5 different building sets, in this game you only have one. So, I mean, I'm sure there's mods for that too, but things do tend to look the same in terms of how the buildings look and all that, but it's not that big of a deal. We can get over it. Oh, we are about to be crossing the, I think anyway, we're going to be crossing the small little river that comes from the lake. Unfortunately, this car directly in front of us blocks a lot of our view, which is annoying, but it's something that you have to be willing to deal with when you get onto these driving places, because, well, a lot of people are going to be using these roads. But he's going that way, so our view is now unobstructed. Yeah, a lot of people using the road up there. We have that little town to the west. Can't forget about that. But yeah, it is pretty good. And once again, crossing yet another rail line. Oh, I saw those gates come down. We got there just before the train did. And now here we're coming up to one of the very few traffic lights in the city. We will be eventually having many more traffic lights. I can promise you that, because we're going to have roads of all sizes. And we're going to have a lot more avenues. So we're making a right, and it's time for us to cross the river. So sloping on up to our bridge, and I always like crossing through this kind of bridge. It's a shame that it's a little lumpular and not straight, but I mean, the way that the game constructs these bridges is that they're modular, and each module has its own slope to it, so you can go up, you can go down. Sometimes it does have a whole bunch in a row calculated together as one slope, but, you know, I'm no programmer. I'm not sure how a lot of this stuff works. But, yes, you can see this is a main street, given all the traffic and pedestrian traffic. But now we are coming up here, and we are going to be finding a parking spot, and we can see the final length of time it took. What's this outside connection? What are you pointing to? Oh, that's gonna suck. I completely forgot. There's a tiny piece of road outside the city that occasionally is just gonna give me warnings forever. So, whoops. Kinda sucks. But no biggie. Let's take a look here. Yeah, there's a lot of problems here, but we do have some residents coming in, so maybe some of those problems will indeed be solved. Well, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that does bring us to the end of this episode. So, I hope that you enjoyed it, and join us very soon, because we are going to be building more stuff. Building highways, building rails, building towns, all that good stuff. So, thank you for watching. See you later.